This is gonna be, I wouldn't say like a lengthy conversation, but definitely strap yourselves in because there's gonna be a lot of like one-off tangents and things that I need to explain to really explain further points. Um, and I do again want to preface this by saying, um, I can't even believe I have to fucking say this because it's always the way I've been, but not everybody knows that, right? Because we're always growing, we're always getting new people and things like that. Um, but when I talk about verification, a lot of these platforms and things like that, Music Mondays is not a political platform. Let me say that again. Music Mondays is not a political platform. I do not give a fuck about your thoughts on politics, the government, da 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 da. I don't. Like I genuinely don't because I don't believe that art and music and things like that, they don't mix well with politics and um the government, right? So that's why I distance myself from that because I choose not to participate. Sure, I have my own like personal thoughts on certain things, but that again doesn't really matter. You know what I mean? Like, so that's kind of like where we're at. Like, this is not a platform where we really give a fuck about any of that because as long as people have a safe, healthy, encouraging, passionate, happy environment where everybody is treated equally, that's all I care about. You know what I mean? So when people talk about Twitter or Instagram or this one or that, I don't fucking care because as long as everybody under my umbrella is treated equally and with respect and everybody is safe and encouraged, that's all that really matters. So before we dive into something like this, keep all that political bullshit out of here because we don't care. we we don't give a fuck. We don't. We care about what's right. So, um, let's talk. Um, so we're gonna talk about two separate platforms here. We're gonna talk about Instagram and we're gonna talk about Twitter. I think the bigger elephant in the room here has got to be Twitter because Twitter's kind of a mess right now, and it's not something that I've particularly enjoyed. Just because I've been on this platform for like 13 years or something like that, and what's going on with the platform right now is definitely um it's just not something I enjoy. Okay, let's just say that. Coming from a person that made their career through social media, to have one of my personal favorite platforms kind of become less quality than it used to be, um, definitely sucks, right? But you also have to remember that this is still a platform. It doesn't really matter who's driving the wheel. And the people that are on these platforms, whether they're independent artists, they're graphic designers, they're newer people that are just trying to share their fucking work, that's who we're here for. And that's why we kind of move the way that we move, right? Because we're there for those people. Um so that's that on that. But when it comes to verification and kind of changing the system, um at the end of the day, verification is changing, right? And again, I've been on these platforms for half of my life, right? So I come from the time where verification actually used to mean something, but it just means something different now. And that's just what it is. Like, we need to kind of throw that old meaning away. And it sucks and it's stupid, it's da 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 da. Cause believe me, like, I get it. I've been here. You know what I mean? Um so it kind of is what it is, right? When you think about the internet and kind of like where it's been at for the last like 20 years, um, a lot of people made a lot of money off of the internet. When it comes to YouTubers, content creators, streamers, social media influencers, Look at TikTok. Even just the exposure leads to other brand deals and things like that, right? And that's all free. So when all these kind of billionaire corporations are like, okay, like we can actually like cash out on all this shit. From like a business aspect, I understand it because it's like, why wouldn't you monetize that? But from like a consumer aspect, it fucking blows because it's so early in the stages that we're kind of like the guinea pigs as to where like 5 years from now, I can see this system actually working. And I'll add on to that in a second. But right now, it's too early. You know, we are the true guinea pigs with this new verification system. And especially with us kind of being, you know, from the early times of the internet, right? You know, when badges used to be meaningful and da 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 da, whatever. You know, it sucks. But at the end of the day, like it's kind of one of those things as to where, you know, um, you either get with it or you get lost. And, you know, when it comes to building a brand in somewhere that is, you know, any aspect of the internet, I don't care if you're over on Facebook, you're gonna want the maximum exposure no matter what it is. And you're gonna want the right tools no matter what it is. So when it comes to Twitter, should you get verified on Twitter? Is it worth it? Da 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 da. You know, this is a very case by case basis, right? Because Music Mondays, for instance, we benefit from that, right? Because you're talking about our platform, right? Even Music Mondays as a whole, you know, the trademark, the copyright, like we want our spot. So it made sense for us to kind of do it just off that alone. But then you're talking about the other perks, whether it be customer support, um, character limits, edit tweets, other small features that are like kind of, you know, you like some people could take it or leave it, but for a brand, it makes sense because you need a lot of those tools to create the content that you create, right? I mean, shit, it made my life easier. So as an artist or like a sole entity, not a brand, you know, is it worth it? I mean, if you want to protect your brand and get ahead of the game, I totally don't see a problem with it. Because again, it's not like a political kind of move that a lot of people will like make it out to be, right? When you're a creator, it's a lot different because we need to get our art in front of as many eyes as possible. And if you don't care about any of this, blah blah blah, then skip the fucking video. You know what I mean? Like this is definitely not for those people that like could take it or leave it. You know, this is for the people that want to know about this. Um so yeah, I mean, when it comes to Twitter, everything is kind of still up in the air right now. Because Twitter went about things a lot of it just a really shitty way. Because there was a lot of legacy verified accounts that got their blue check stripped in order to have this Twitter blue system kind of implemented, which for a while was going to work if you just left the legacy check marks. But where it's at currently, as of April 24th, 2023, um, everybody got stripped and only certain accounts got auto Twitter blue and the rest of Twitter kind of has to pay for it. So everything is kind of in limbo right now, and I don't anticipate that staying that way. Just because it's obviously very broken. Um, so when it comes to being verified on Twitter, right, I don't see the whole project being dropped because when it comes to making Twitter like a profitable business, you know, that's kind of like a easy way to go about it, but at the same time, a lot of those features kind of benefit creators. So it's going to be a case by case basis. Would I recommend it? I mean, you're you're going to have to look at where you're at and kind of how you want to protect yourself moving forward, right? Because I think the two sweetest things that you could really like actually use when it comes to a verification on Twitter is the immediate contact to Twitter support. So you'll be able to instantly contact Twitter support. And just the verification itself as to where, you know, you're the sole entity, right? nobody's going to be able to really take your brand. And of course, if that were to ever happen, it's really easy to kind of deal with that if you've already like established yourself with that. So again, going to be kind of a case by case basis because there are a lot of other conversations happening, and this is why I say it's probably going to change again on Twitter, because when it comes to being a verified organization, that's where a lot of the big brands and companies and players are running into a big issue, is because there's now these checkmark tiers as to where you have Twitter Blue, which is just basic, and then you have verified organizations, which are the gold and gray check marks. And to get the gold check marks, you need to be a verified organization. Okay, no problem. But that in itself is $1,000 a month, right? $1,000 a month, and it's an additional $50 per account under this organization. So it's a fucking hefty penny. So anybody you see with verified organization accounts, you'll see a lot of them in the gaming space. You'll see a lot of them in esports and things like that. That's a big tax write-off, okay? Because ain't nobody fucking paying that, because that is very, like, way, like, that's not even the amount of cash you'd spend a year as a company just on being a verified organization could be easily placed somewhere better. So that's why I say, um, expect a lot of this to change again over time on Twitter. So that's why I wanted to speak about Twitter first, because it's kind of more of like it's a bigger kind of question mark. Okay, it's definitely a bigger question mark. It makes more sense as a brand, and it makes more sense as an artist to really like hold down your name and hold down your spot, and you have easy support access and you have accessibility and things like that. But if you're not interested in any of that, it's probably not for you. You know what I mean? Because things like that, like, you know, again, case by case basis. It's going to be different for everybody. I could see somebody with a great Twitter following that's a solo artist that could totally, um, really benefit from that. But again, like, I think people kind of can't get past the fact that it doesn't mean shit anymore. But like, I think a big excuse to get rid of it on Twitter and go this route was because there was a lot of developers at Twitter backdooring blue check marks. Like, they were just selling them for fucking hotcakes. And there was a real big conspiracy on like whether that happened. And I saw that happen personally. I know people who fucking bought their check marks on Twitter years ago. Years ago. So I can confirm for a fact that there were developers backdooring that shit. So as far as it being like a legit verification, that's why you would see people pop up on Twitter with like 900 followers and a blue check, because they bought that shit. They bought that shit for sure. So Twitter, it made more sense to go the subscription route because it was already kind of tarnished at the same time, right? And then we spoke a little bit about AI last week and how easy it is to impersonate people and things like that. And verification is just another way to kind of have that, be a fail safe, as to where like you're like, nah, bro, like my legit account's right here, da 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 da. So again, all this is kind of in the early stages, and a lot of it you could poke a lot of holes in, right? But when it comes to Twitter itself, expect it to keep changing over the next couple of months. I wouldn't get too worried of where everything is at, because this is a platform where um, independent creators, artists, gamers, just people with creativity flourish, and that'll never really change. Um, Mainly due to the fact that there's nowhere to fucking go. You know what I mean? Like, a lot of these newer platforms out here are like really fucking subpar, and that's why you haven't seen any major creators make a move, because like there is none. You know what I mean? So when I know, the Music Mondays community will know, but that's why it's kind of everything's in a little bit of a limbo right now when it comes to Twitter. Um, because believe me, I would like to just see somebody with a smart, like honest fucking head leading this shit. But for right now, it's kind of in the dark ages. So we just kind of got to roll the punches here. And again, as I gather more information on Twitter, you'll know about uh, everything that I know about. But for right now, I can't see verification staying where it's at. Expect it to keep changing. So that's my take on Twitter. But that leaves the other elephant in the room. So when Twitter Blue kind of launched, less than a month later, we had Instagram pop up with Meta verified. Get your account verified right now. You're eligible. Blah, 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 blah. And then the internet exploded into a fucking frenzy. Like, oh shit. You know what I mean? Like, what the fuck's the deal with this? Well, Instagram's much more simple. Again, you know, you kind of gotta get over the fact that a blue check mark is really not what it means anymore, right? It just means that the person behind the account is a real person rather than a notable figure. But the thing with Instagram is when they launched their verification, they didn't take away the old way to get verified, much like Twitter did. So Twitter, you can't get verified through articles and things like that, being a notable figure, which kind of blows. But when Instagram launched their version, they didn't take away the old way of getting verified, which I thought was kind of interesting because it would just be the obvious model, right? Let's just take away the old way to get verified. But sure than shit, I went and did my own research and I was like, damn, it's still there. So I was kind of surprised. So, what's the deal with Instagram verification? Can I get verified on Instagram as a creator? Why do I see all these people with blue check marks on Instagram? So, Meta verification is available for Facebook and Instagram, but it is not available for businesses and creators. So what do I mean by that? Well, it's only available at the base level on personal accounts, meaning to get verified on Instagram through paying for it, you need to have your government name on your profile, which I thought was kind of interesting. So take note of that anytime you go on Instagram and you see somebody you never saw with a blue check mark. Go peep their profile and see if they have their government on their profile, and that's the requirement. You need to have a government ID match the name on your profile. So that's why you'll see a very limited amount of people with them, because not a lot of people want to do that. And that kind of, fucks over pretty much everybody else, right? 90% of their user base are fan pages, brands, platforms, social media influencers, artists, creatives, designers. So it's like, how do those people get verified? I anticipate they want those people to kind of go through the same process that was originally there. So it's like, okay, that's like not too bad, but it's also double the price of Twitter Blue, and you don't get nearly as many features, which kind of sucks if you think about it, because like you're paying double the price over there on Instagram, but you get like almost no features. Like the features you get are like not really worth paying for, if we're being honest. Like there'll be some cases where like your post will like always be first in the feed for your followers and things like that, but not a lot of that is like super worth it when they have stories, right? And you have like the ability to like mass DM people and tell people when you posted. So like I can't really see a lot of that being worth it for Instagram. I think the only worthy kind of perk you get over there is again the connection to customer support, because if you've ever had to try to deal with Instagram or Twitter customer support, you know how much of a fucking hassle it is to like actually get these people to like talk to a fucking human being, bro. Like these are like billion-dollar companies, and their support system is basically fucking non-existent, and it's beyond like ridiculous. So subscribing to these subscriptions are one easy way to get yourself right in there, because you're like, yo, I'm a monthly subscriber, you can't fucking ignore me, da 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 da. And of course, they're 100% going to give you the best A1 service you could ever get. But that was never a thing. So that's like the only thing that it's like kind of worth it for, if anything were to happen to your account. But other than that, like Instagram, I would kind of bank on getting verified the old fashioned way, considering it's still there. Um, the fact that it's taken away on Twitter sucks, but it kind of leaves you with no option. Whereas the Instagram, you have a couple of options, and you're like, okay, well, I can just wait till I get, a couple major articles and pieces written about me, and then, we'll see what kind of shit Instagram is dealing with. So, um, to put a cap on Instagram, no, they aren't offering paid verification for brands and artists and creatives. So anybody you see with the blue check, that isn't supposed to have one, most definitely paid for it, but at the same time, they need to have their government on their profile at all times. Just as a way as to verify that they're a real fucking person, because as we all know, the Instagram bots are way fucking out of control. So again, I kind of don't blame them in that aspect, right? Because they're constantly dealing with this bot problem, and how they haven't gotten it figured out, I don't know. I'm not a developer, but clearly it's fucking hard, because it's still happening no matter how many times they update the app or self verification, or I don't know. Instagram's a whole fucking mess for sure. Like, people like to rag on Twitter, but that app is a fucking whew. Just the little things that I notice. So I mean, they each have their perks, but I wouldn't pay attention to the bullshit. You know what I mean? I wouldn't really worry too much about any of that. And if you're interested in getting verified, that's the deal with getting verified. Getting verified on any other platform is relatively easy. TikTok is much like these two, same thing. But Twitter and Instagram are the only two that are actually selling badges. Actually, I think Tumblr is now. I saw a while ago that Tumblr is offering paid verification, but they don't like sell it as that. It's kind of funny. They'll like be like, yeah, here's all these other perks, and then they'll put it like at the bottom, like, oh, and a little blue badge. Like, it's mad funny. So they don't offer that as like a main perk, but I'm pretty sure you can go get it over on Tumblr too. But yeah, I mean, shit, if you have any more questions, or you're, concerned about X, Y, or Z, you're like, yo, should I do this? Should I, what do you think about this? Is it worth it for me? Feel free to sound off in the comments, tweet us any questions, anything like that. This will be uploaded on YouTube. So yeah, very, very kind of interesting, long kind of talk, but again, rather important, just because, um, you know, it's been the talk of the town. So with that said, make sure you leave a like, drop a comment, and let us know what you think about getting verified on social media in 2023. Okay.